Welcome to today's episode of Expert Showcase. Today on the show we have Kylee Ellis, and she's going to be talking to you, teaching you, and showing you all about how to automate your marketing by publishing a book to generate prepaid clients. Hey Kylee, how you doing today?
Good, thanks, Chris. Excited to be here.
Epic. Well, we are so looking forward to having you on today because let's face it, everyone wants to automate and everyone wants to generate prepaid clients because I can't think of anything better to have than just have a boatload of clients that are prepaid coming in and you know where your income is coming from and it's got to be much easier. But I'm sure we'll get to all that in the second part of the show. For those of you who are new to the show, we split the show up into two parts. First part, we talk about our epic guest heroes journey. The second part, we focus on their area of expertise. So today we're going to be talking to Kylee Ellis and we're going to hear all about her heroine's journey. And Kylee, why don't you start us off and give us a brief overview of your heroine's journey?
Sure. Well, as with all good journeys, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. I like to think there's not an end and it's just the start of the next journey. But I actually the problem with how I started is I started young. I started at the point in time when I was actually working for someone else and they tried to fire me. And you know, young people, you've got a bit of a big head. What do you mean you're firing me? You can't fire me, I quit. So, unemployed for a moment and not wanting to be unemployed, I decided to open a business the very next day. So there was that much thought put into it, to be perfectly honest with you. Of course, the reason they tried to fire me, having never been fired before in my life, was because they actually said they believed I could run their business better than they could, and I was formerly trained as a graphic designer. And they said, well, anyone can do graphic design, but only you can run our company. But they knew I didn't want to be unemployed, so they had to fire me as the graphic designer before they thought I would accept the administration job. Well, you already heard what I said to that, but I thought, hold on, if they think I can run their business, I'm running mine. And I literally opened the next day. The problem is I opened a business with not much planning and no finance behind it. So the first thing I did was go to the bank to try and get a loan. But a young person who doesn't own property and has no assets to put behind them, of course, the bank laughed at me. Around the same time, within that first year of starting the business off, and by the way, it started off very successfully, except for there was no finance behind it, GFC hit. So now the banks really didn't want to give me a loan. So it was all a very, very interesting time period. But what I did was I literally built a business from nothing and with a knowledge base of my skills and experience, but actually learning as you go. And that's part of my journey. For example, I told you I'm trained as a graphic designer. So when I opened my graphic design studio, and my first customer came to me and said, can you design my book? I went, sure, I'm a graphic designer. I can design your book, no problem. Then it was like, can you sell my book? Sell it online. I can build websites. I'm a graphic designer. Sure, we can do that. Then it was, can you print my book? How hard can it be to become a print broker? Sure, I'll work out how to do that. Then it was, can you distribute my book all over the world in bookstores and get me international credibility? Not a problem. And as you can see, I was a very quick learner. But to be perfectly honest with you, my first 12 customers were all books. I thought I was a graphic designer, and from that first book, it was like, oh, can you do my series? And so on and so forth. Some of those questions were asked by different people, but in a range of about, well, not very long, 6 to 12 months, 95% of the work in my graphic design studio was in publishing. So this was the turning point of my journey. I was seeing the results I was getting for my customers, and I was getting one of two things. There was no grey. I was either bringing them in a six-figure income from book sales alone, so they were reordering large volumes multiple times a year, because back then it was printing offshore to get low print prices and bringing them in through customs, or they were getting absolutely no results at all, as in they were literally printing boxes and boxes of unopened books and not selling one and wondering why. I looked at the key difference between the two customers. The ones that were extremely successful were marketing their book, and the ones that had absolutely no result had done jack all since the beautiful books arrived successfully published and wondered what they did wrong. So that was a huge turning point for me. I was like, I can see what's working, I can see what's not working, but it's not working for me. I was coming to the office at 5 o'clock when my staff went home and leaving at 9 in the morning trying to keep this business running and growing. By that stage, I had about 12 people in an office, physical office. This is before I went virtual. And that just wasn't working for me. So I said, stuff this, I'm going to practice what I preach. And I did exactly what my customers were doing. I brought out the first in my series of books. I profiled myself as the expert in their field. I launched as the publishing queen, and everything changed from that point in time. It was a matter of months before the office was gone and we moved to a virtual office. Everyone went home, changed from staff to subbies. We could grow and be global. I started traveling Australia, running seminars, workshops. The sky was the limit there. But it was a huge turning point. One, getting from the initial, you don't need to have any capital necessarily to start your business, getting from the initial, oh, hold on, but you don't need to know how to do it. You can't do that. No, I'll work it out on the way. Through to, hold on, you've done it for someone else, but do you believe enough in yourself to do it for you?
Right.
So,
So couple things real quick before we dig into each one of those sections, folks. If you haven't guessed, Kylie's from Australia, and you're gonna hear some what I'll call Australianisms like subbies. What I know some people from Australia, and the first time I heard the word brekkie, I'm like, what? You know, somebody said, "Hey, why don't you come to brekkie with us tomorrow?" And I went, "What the heck is brekkie?" And breakfast, and it was at that point I realized that there's must be a sub language in Australia that just shortens every single word and adds e onto the end of it,
yeah,
and you
there
kind of
is.
have to understand exactly exactly what the root of that
My
word is.
apologies.
So so
Subcontractors.
I was going to say, so I got subcontractors, but I'm just trying to give our listeners an Australian to English dictionary, or an English to English dictionary, as some people would say. So if you hear anything in an E on the end, it's probably just a shortened version of what you naturally think is longer. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to comment on the video below, or send us the questions here at BCN TV at Expert Showcase, and we'll be happy to provide a translation for you. But so Kylie, it sounds like you've had an epic journey. Let's dig into each of those pieces individually. Let's start off with the
No
beginning.
problem.
Raise your hand if you could use more clients. Now keep those hands up if you know that the best, most efficient, most effective way to attract your ideal client is to create great client attracting content that connects with your ideal client and makes it easier for you to convert them into paying clients. Now, whether you have your hands up or have your hands down, I invite you to join me on the Create, Connect, and Convert Online Summit. It's where I and other people who are real-world practitioners of creating great client-attracting content are going to share our secrets with you. The summit is online. It runs Wednesday, April 13th through Saturday, April 23rd. You need to go out to the web address on your screen at this point, register to reserve your seat. And remember, you want to join us on the Create, Connect, and Convert Online Summit, because creating content is how you spread your message, reach more people, and make a bigger difference. To watch the rest of this epic episode now, click on the link below the video. Do it now, you'll be glad you did. Are you still here? What are you waiting for? Watch the rest of this epic episode now by clicking on the link below the video.